Welcome everyone to TechTalk Friday. And today, as always, Karamjit Singh and I will be here to walk you through all things technology. Today is a special day because we actually have a very special guest with us. We have Elain Lockman, who's the founder of Ata Plus, who will be joining us shortly, and she'll be talking us through the story of how she grew this business and possibly even leading to a possible listing on the Nasdaq. So that's going to come up in a short while. I'm gonna bring in Karamjit Singh to join me. Karam, welcome, and wow, you made it on time today, Karam. So congratulations for being here for our show. Karam is we never know with Karam. Whether it's electricity or whether the bull from Spain. Kind of hit his house, and the gate was not able to open, and that's Karam for you. But Karam, maybe in the next first 20-30 seconds, anything new in the tech world that we need to know about before I bring Elaine up to have a chat with us. Anything interesting that's happening in the tech?
It's a couple of things. I mean, we've been writing some about them, and then you had the National Sandbox Technology and Innovation Sandbox that was launched on Tuesday. Yes, the day before. Today is Friday, public holiday, Wednesday. So
Okay.
you want to see how that sandbox actually helps with entrepreneurs trying to innovate and trying to break things fast and work around regulations or work with regulators. So that's going to be kind of something that we need to do fast, which means that experiment fast and make mistakes fast, but get over them and keep moving forward. Yeah. You make mistakes, you get stuck, but then you move forward. So that's going to be interesting to see how we execute that well. And we are open to experimenting and open to things are not working. Hey, we're really stuck here, right? Let's look at something. And that's very important.
Okay, so Karam, I'm gonna bring Elaine. I'm gonna just buzz her in, and so Elain Lockman again, the co-founder of Ata Plus. I'm gonna bring her on board, and Elaine,
Okay.
Elaine, welcome to the show. Really glad to have you with us today.
Hi.
Elaine, our show, we want to go and be snappy because we don't want Karam to make it into a 52-minute show as he does sometimes. So we will come right into it. Tell us a bit about.
Thanks for being on time.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big one. Okay, Elaine, tell us a little bit about Ata Plus, because I think a lot of people may not be totally aware of what Ata Plus does. And if you can share with us your story of how you built it, a little bit, not in in 20 minutes or so, but just like in 2-3 minutes, kind of the history behind Ata Plus, what you guys do, and potentially what you plan to do down the road. So let me give you the stage. Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Roshan. All right. So we are Ata Plus Sdn Bhd. We are one of the registered equity crowdfunding platforms in Malaysia. We're one of the first 6 that was awarded the registration by Securities Commission in June 2015. So a little bit on the history. I'm one of the 3 co-founders.
You've been around for almost 5 years now. I mean,
that's right. Correct. Okay. So I'm one of the 3 co-founders. Myself, Kiri Andreo, and Aini Aizal Nasharuddin. So 3 of us got together and decided to do this. But just to take you a little bit back further, Kiri and I, before this, we actually got a Cradle grant to do what we call iSharaka. It's actually like a P2P platform. It's very similar to Kiva to help micro entrepreneurs. And it was actually a working prototype. And we had our own unique credit rating model, and Cradle liked it so much that we brought it to Bank Negara. But I think we were a bit too early for the crowdfunding scene. I think people didn't understand, they didn't get it. Whilst a group in Bank Negara liked it, there was another group that just couldn't understand. They kept talking about money laundering and AMLA, and I'm like thinking, on average, we're looking at just raising about 300 US, yeah, and how much can you launder with 10 ringgit, 100 ringgit, creating many accounts. But anyhow, so we put it in a back burner until, SC came up with the regulatory framework, then we started it back again. But anyway, coming back to the present time. So we started in 2015 and we launched our platform in March 2016. And I must say, to date, we're very proud to say that, we've gone through many challenges, refining our model, and in spite of, in spite of it being a new asset class, and also a lot of people don't understand what it was in the first place. So there was a lot of education and awareness that needed to be done, which I can tell you until today, there's still many, many people out there who do not
understand
what equity crowdfunding is.
Yeah. So primarily your organization today's ECF platform, that's your primarily that's what you do.
Yes.
And the goal is to branch out into other things at some point in time, or
I think
it looks like.
So I think even if we branch out into other things, the core of it is still equity crowdfunding.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the thing is, how can we make it, much more easier for us to come online, and also easy for investors to invest and find out more about the product, right? And not only that, and how can they perhaps look at certain interim exits if they can, and also investors being able to invest not only using fiat but also cryptocurrencies, for example, and making it seamless and really cost efficient for both issuers and investors. So that's what we're looking at, more for the both investor and issuer experience, but also looking at how can we look at accessing issuers that's not even Malaysian in that sense, So whether we can get companies from other countries to maybe even fundraise from Malaysia in a cost-effective manner, and secondly, bringing in more international investors. So obviously, we're looking at how can we go regional too. And I think if you look at the COVID experience, this is why I think we think that this is also important. Because companies will always want to fundraise, and at the end of the day, right? When you look at the pool of investors, people always ask me, right, when they meet us, who are your investors? Okay, so if you look at typically in a jurisdiction, right? So when you see a company that's licensed or regulated within a specific jurisdiction, majority of the investors will come from that jurisdiction. I would say 90%. So if it's the UK, like for example, the CrowdCube, majority will come from the UK. Malaysia, majority from Malaysia, and so on and so forth. Similarly with platforms, right? But having said that, within Malaysia, the Malaysian context itself, each investors, they are not exclusive to one platform. They can invest anywhere.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
So which is why what we're saying is that this is the opportunity whereby we see that there's an opportunity to increase the investor pool, to bring in external investors into the country, because now, if you look at the statistics, 95% are still very much Malaysian. Why not? How can we draw in more international investors within the country, right? And whether we can pull in more investors from Singapore, say from Japan, Korea, or from Europe, or even especially Europe. When you look at the Malaysian currency compared to their currency, it's really small. And very, very affordable, right? So why not? It's just a matter of how do we market and promote the campaigns and get them to see the value of these businesses, And typically, we can also tell when we look at the statistics in the past, generally companies that go through an equity crowdfunding platform, their sustainability is much more better, right? They don't die or they don't get wiped out, right? Compared to companies who do not get listed or screened by this company by a crowdfunding platform. Because of the screening process, they need to be compliant to the requirements of the regulators and the reporting and so on and so forth. So the responsibility is much more bigger.
So Elain, I mean, before we jump into some of the questions that Kara may have, I'm curious because you've built at Tablas, probably the top 3 platforms in the whole country. I mean, there were 6 that were given licenses, but you emerged as one of the better platforms, I guess, or one of the more used, I guess.
Top two.
Top two, right? So top two. So obviously it's top 2 nationally is pretty good. Now so what did you do right, you think, that enabled your success? What was something? What were some of the tips or the insights that you can, if you look back at your past, that you can give some of our viewers, some sort of insights on what you think you did right and how we can learn from that experience?
I think for us as a company, we're a startup, and to tell you honestly, if you look at the 6 companies that got registered, that were given the registration in June 2015, I think we were the only one that had 0 platform. Okay, we developed it from scratch, and we had some hits and misses, wins and misses, but I think in terms of the tech, I think it took us time. We went through several iterations until we somewhat got the tech bit right. On hindsight, we wouldn't have done certain things. Yeah. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I think we stayed true to our value proposition of saying that we want to give all SMEs or companies the opportunity to fundraise. Yeah. Okay. So, which is why if you look at our so-called track record, right? We do not have 100% track record in terms of successful fundraise registered vis-a-vis many of our competitors, So most competitors, they want to make sure that these companies, can fundraise, and then only they list them on the platform.
But in a way, then are they being more stringent? Or do I sense that you're saying that they're trying to game the system and only make sure they put on companies that they know can raise the minimum amount so that they can say we got 100% record?
Yes. So that's a strategy on their side. Yeah. Okay. So for us,
when you are saying you are more open to take chances and take a bit risk, because sometimes
well done.
Yeah, because for us, right, we are not a VC, or we are not fund managers. Yeah, yes. The money is not our money. Yeah, yes. Because we take a small processing fee to make sure that the companies that's been listed fully comply to SE's requirements. That's very, very important. Okay. Yep. Then the information that's being presented on the platform is true and correct. Right. So that's very important. Okay. So that's what we do, and then the value add that we really give also to companies is that we market and promote the campaigns. So and we strategically work with the company to fundraise, right? Okay. To work with them, right? So whether it's PR, whether it's pitching sessions, whether it's digital social media marketing, so that's important, because at the end of the day, right, the investors need to decide whether I want to invest in this company or not. It's their money, right? So if and typically our observation is why companies don't make it, right? In our say since we launched 2016, right? We launched. Okay. There's a few reasons. Number 1 is the commitment of the promoter themselves, the issuers themselves, to fundraising. Some promoters, right? They think, I list my company on the platform, then money just miraculously appear, So it doesn't happen that way. You see, the reason why you want to work with a company like us, right, or any of our competitors, is because now you are eligible to fundraise publicly, openly solicit investments from the public. Otherwise, you have to be a public listed company in order to do that. Right, so by working with an equity crowdfunding platform, you can now as simple as print flyers and go to the supermarket and say, hey, invest in my company. So that's number 1. Yeah. So number two, so basically they left it to the platform to do all the work. Yeah. And secondly, is timing, right? We had one company, and it was so unfortunate for them. 1 week after they launched, the last general election happened.
Oh, okay.
So nobody was paying attention to anything else. Right? The GE results, who's going to be PM, who's going to be minister of what, blah, 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 right? But having said that, because of their successful PR on their campaign, I think they were one of the most covered ECF campaign.
Oh.
They and throughout their fundraising campaign, I think period was about 3 months. They actually secured more than 5 million worth of new businesses.
Wow.
Oh, business, huh? Wow.
So the timing plays a crucial role, huh?
Yeah, So, and because of that, they said, okay, because their minimum target was 1 million, and they said, look, we got so much business now.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So, which is great.
Okay.
And thirdly, our observation is the key promoter or the key driver of the business is very important, especially the one who actually is pitching the story, the storyteller.
Okay.
Yeah. The storyteller, if you have a strong storyteller who can, sell ice to the Eskimo, very, very good. A person who knows the numbers, who can tell the story. I mean, of course, not bullshitting, obviously, right? It's based on numbers and figures.
So you leave that to me and Roshan. You all do.
Anyway.
So Elain, I think that's good. My producer is saying that we every time we talk so much, we Indians tend to ramble away, and we talk so much that we forget sometimes to acknowledge our sponsors and people who are supporting our show. So we're gonna take a very short break, about 2 minutes, to listen to something in Hokkien. So no Tamil, Karam. Sorry, no Punjabi.
Oh no, Hokkien. I got a great anecdote about Hokkien when we come back. Then okay.
So when we come back, but we've got an advertisement in Hokkien from our sponsors, Nicole. So let's tune in to this short minute or so ad from Nicole. All right, so guys, tune in to this.
你有捌聽啲咧叫 app 叫 Nicole 咯
？Nicole 是什麼？
唔是啦，我教你講 app 啦嘛。嘅你看啲 Nicole 你看，伊加了後真正是 article、podcast、courses 嘅啊。我教你講啊，你愛變好命，你好命。
愛好命啊，爹哋。
你愛趁錢無？
趁錢類咯。
啊，所以啊，你特別用 Nicole，做咩事？你讀了啦，你看誒 article 嘅了，讀了，你變真高嘅，知無？
唔嘢無。
我看啲有年你看啲 article 看按照好命。按照趁錢類，哇！呀，你睇，
一個看好了嘛，真來就高。
有啦，教你講了嘛，你咪聽，當今你特別去看，特別看個了，睇個了，
你講你真
高啦。OK， 好，我哋先好到嚟。
Okay, we're back. To TechTalk, and so that was Nicole. Okay, Karam, your quick 30-second Hokkien joke. And please,
I understood most of that because I'm from Penang, so of course most Penangites can speak Hokkien.
The Hokkien was good. Was the Hokkien good?
Oh yeah. Of course, it's very good. Yeah, no. But my the little anecdote was today because there was a bereavement in the family, and somebody passed away, and that person was the last of their siblings to pass away. And then the son, which is my cousin, says that, hey, mom is there now with all her brothers, and they're all catching up on life. And you know what? The amazing thing is because they're from Penang, he said they're probably talking in Hokkien. Can you imagine a Punjabi fella, telling that his mom and the siblings are probably talking in Hokkien, and that just shows the beauty and the strength of Malaysia as a multicultural country. I just love that anecdote, and it's great that I had the chance to just slip it in now also.
All right, well done, Karam. Okay, we've got 2 or 3 questions. I'm just going to, Elain, we're going to take some questions.
I got so many questions. Oh, you want to get the question from the audience? Okay, fine.
We will take a few questions from our audience, and then what we're going to do is Karam has some questions, and I think we want to talk a little bit about how you plan to list in the US. I think that's going to be a big feature of what we talk about. But I want to take a quick question from Anil, so you can see it on the screen. The sudden rise of crowdfunding has seen many internet platforms crop up in recent times. This has caused this really caused a great deal of confusion for young entrepreneurs who have great business ideas. How do you address this concern? Elaine, you want to take this?
Okay,
Yeah,
but just quickly before you do, it's not a sudden rise. Very interesting, Elaine, and like Sam from Pitchin, they've been around for 5 years, slogging, trying to get the message across to the market, and and when I use the word slog, I mean, Elaine I think is not telling you all of the pain she's gone through as any entrepreneur, but
Yep.
she told me something recently that really told me that she's really just put it all in. The Americans will say you've thrown everything, including the kitchen sink, into this startup, and she has absolutely done that. Got huge respect for her and what she's willing to do to make this a success. But coming back to that is, Anil still says recent, so I'm kind of struck by that. Some people still think it's a new ecosystem.
Yeah, but maybe Karam, we'll let Elaine answer this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think
Hey, just
maybe
mute my mic live. I'm talking too much.
no.
Right, we're gonna take it out. All right,
yeah.
Elaine, go for it.
Yeah, maybe I think what he's saying is, you see, you have to understand there's 4 types of crowdfunding. There's donation crowdfunding, there's reward crowdfunding, there's equity and P2P. So equity and P2P crowdfunding is regulated. So, there's no sudden rise, I would say. It's just that I think in the last 2 years, SC has approved many more players. Right, so in ECF now 11, and similarly with P2P is 10. So there's more options and more choice. So so there's no confusion in that. It's very clear. So there's just it's just that I guess the way SC is looking at it is different platforms will give different propositions, and there's also some platforms that's not very active too. Okay. But however, do not get confused with the non-regulated ones, which are donation crowdfunding and reward crowdfunding. So reward crowdfunding is the most popular in the world, would be Kickstarter and the Indiegogos of the world. So it's more for projects, more for prototypes, So it's just there's no money change of funds exchange or transfer of shares involved. Right? It's just an exchange for in the cash that you contribute gets exchanged with a product or a service. Yeah. It's very clear. Okay,
that's right.
Donation crowdfunding, monies get exchanged for a good deed. That's it. In fact, you will get nothing in return.
Absolutely.
So it's mainly for charitable causes most of the time. Yeah. So
to take that question further, there's Sujan asks, how does one decide which type of fundraising methodology to pursue for a new tech startup? What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of crowdfunding? Maybe you can answer this very quickly, Elaine, and then
that's a good question.
And then Karam, I think after that we'll go deeper into, because I know Karam may have to disappear in about 10 or 15 minutes he's got an alumni dinner, right? So he's buying Elaine dinner. Right?
Oh, hello, I'm very important, Karam. So
okay,
So for a company, this is always what we tell companies. First and foremost, you must look at your fundraising strategy. Does it make sense? Does crowdfunding make sense in your fundraising strategy? Okay, so I would say that goes back to what would make your crowdfunding successful and why do you want to go for crowdfunding. In the early days when we got registered by SC, there were a lot of companies that came to us because we are the last resort. They say, I tried VC, I tried banks, I couldn't get money, so last resort, just do ECF. They think it's easy. Okay. So that's number one. And we always tell them, look, you must look at it as a strategy. Are you looking at it as a startup fundraising? I mean, if you're looking at at a seed round, we generally do not advise, because typically at a seed or pre-seed, you don't really have anything, it's just an idea. There's no traction. Unless, of course, you're somebody like, say, Tony Fernandez or
Karamjit Singh,
who've been there, done that. Yes, people say, I believe in you. Whatever you say, turn to gold.
Yeah, man, Karam, it's time to take DNA on Eta Plus, man.
So that's number one. So number two is, whether you're using it, a lot of people who's come onto our platform, they are looking at it not for fundraising, but mainly for marketing and brand visibility or acquiring new customers. So we've got quite a number of that. So one of them in particular in the past was Datuk Lore. He's a 20-year-old brand, but he still did a small round on our platform. Why? Because he restructured his whole company, and he wanted to reposition his brand into more of a lifestyle, higher end brand. And he really got met his target. He was covered front page, Star Business, Focus Malaysia, so The Edge, so he got it. So he met his target. So it really depends on your objectives. There are some companies who want to look for strategic partners rather than and they're very particular about investors as well. They say, we want investors, but we want strategic investors. And they hope to look for a strategic investor that can help them grow their business, through equity funding. Yeah, and sometimes they do not want to. They said rather than have one single investor who may then encroach into their management and so on, so they said I'd rather go crowdfunding because then there's not one single voice, dictating.
Yeah, great. So quick feedback. Anil says, thank you, Elaine. You got my question right. He was really looking at which are the available ones that should choose from. And he didn't criticize Karam for saying that in recent times and all the rubbish that Karam was. Okay, now Karam,
hey,
I know
Mr. Producer, I want the same power you give Roshan where he can mute me. Okay, I want to be able to mute him next show.
Producer muted me, so blame it on our Sashi. Okay, he mutes me too sometimes. Okay, by the way, Karam, you have a few questions for Elaine, and I think one of the things we want to talk about is how does a company in Malaysia be listed in the US potentially and potentially be a Nasdaq or New York Stock Exchange listed, right? And Elaine, Atta Plus is on the process of getting listed, right? And Karam, you want to
not in the process, but she actually not in the process, but the ambition is there, and they've given themselves an opportunity to work towards that now. Yeah. But before we start, Elaine, it's because I saw just now we had Murad Malik, right? Ali from he's the Malik Murad from he's the CIO of Maidin, and he said hi. But because he's the CIO of Maidin, and earlier, Elaine, you said that in the early days you all had to work through a few iterations to get your platform right, and that's something that Malik as a CIO will absolutely understand. Right, technology is not a black and white situation, right? You're going to keep working on it and persisting and getting the balance right and the feel right also, right? And the business model will sometimes change the platform you have. So it's great. So all of you listening, remember, technology, when you have it, you got to work at it to make it right. And I know Elaine and her team, and of course she's lucky she's got Aimi Aizal there. So it's a technologies from one of the veterans in the Malaysian space, working to get the platform right. So great. So I know Malik can relate to that. So okay, the question is, you're right. You made this decision that your path to getting a listing and monetization is with a listing, and you guys have ambitiously decided to go for the most challenging market in the world, and it's not Nasdaq actually. So Elaine has the option of either Nasdaq or the NYSE actually. So
don't pressure on me, man.
I think
our
maybe
article already put pressure on you.
So Elaine, maybe walk us through the story, because I think it's quite interesting with the GreenPro. GreenPro taking equity stake in Atta Plus. GreenPro is a Hong Kong-based company. Maybe Elaine, you can share a little bit.
It's a Malaysian owned actually. It's run by Malaysian. They were based in Hong Kong. They've actually now Roshan relocated to Malaysia. Their global headquarters is from Malaysia now.
Got it. Okay, Elaine. You want to talk about the story?
Yeah. So just so what happened was, I just take a step back. So we have been fundraising actually since last year, just to be upfront, and we were about to close a deal with a Hong Kong VC actually just before COVID happened. And actually, so when COVID-19 hit us, like most VCs and PEs, a lot of their LPs pulled back the funds. Yeah, so we were one of the unfortunate ones who got impacted by that. So in other words, we kind of got screwed, So we had to go back to the drawing board, and start to fundraise again. And as you know, right, fundraising is not easy, because fundraising is like getting married. So yeah.
Right? Yep.
Yeah. And what I was going to say, and sorry, I got distracted because I got a call.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, you're saying fundraising is not easy, of course, super difficult.
No, it's like getting married, because you meet a lot of people, and if you for example, like Indiegogo, the founder of Indiegogo said, he met God knows how many, more than I think hundreds of investors.
Wow.
Yeah, before they got the first big break, and and what happened is we invested what do you call it, a lot of our own funds, into it, okay, and so what happened was we met Green Pro the Friday before Hari Raya. Okay, so we met Green Pro the Friday before Hari Raya, and it was a 4-hour meeting. It was really, really good, and we found a lot of synergies. And and Green Pro, just a little bit of background for those people who don't know Green Pro. They are Hong Kong-based companies, but the two co-founders are very much Malaysian, and they've always traditionally they've been more in advisory services, and they've got like licenses out of Hong Kong, and they listed the company on OTC in 2015. And
14, I think, actually 14. Yeah.
2014, yeah. Then they uplifted themselves to Nasdaq in 2018.
So sorry, the word uplifted is a technical term they use in the US market, where you move from an OTC counter right into the full Nasdaq counter. Okay? Yeah. Not very sexy lah, but they call it uplifted. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you move up.
Yeah. So since then they've been looking at, previously they've been servicing clients in the traditional ecosystem. So they wanted to, since they got listed in Nasdaq, so they wanted to see how they can expand their services, into the alternative ecosystem. Yeah, and they were looking at identifying parties who they can either work with or take a strategic stake, to grow that value proposition. So hence, when they met us, they saw that we fit in one of the spaces that they wanted to get themselves into, because they were also going into incubation of SMEs as well, and they see that as a pretty good fit. And then also looking at identifying companies that can go for listing sooner rather than later, with that opportunity, right? So and they saw that we had that that value proposition, and there were a lot of values that was not I would say that was kind of like buried, and I think the beauty with Green Pro is they have a methodology whereby they can dig it out and bring it out, and then monetize or put a valuation on the intangibles, now and then, rather than later. So and from there, and for us as a company, I mean, no doubt that we've invested our own funds, but we also have individual investors in our company, and like for any responsible startup or business, you want to give value to your shareholders. And we and in our roadmap, the listing story is there, but with the listing story is I would say not story, the listing I would say the route to the road is clearer. It's much clearer. We know now exactly what we are going to do, how we're going to structure it, and the timing as well. So so that's great. Yeah.
So Elaine, you've gone through a bit of a journey in the last couple of months, and you got a bit of a roadmap. But what are some insights, as you journeyed on this journey, that you can share with the rest of us entrepreneurs who want to potentially go down that route, right? And ultimately, sort of exit to some extent through whether it's a listing or some sort of I guess in the sense that getting Green Pro to be part of your organization to enable you to move in a very strategic direction. What sort of advice would you impart and some lessons learned, along the last couple of months of journeying together on this listing journey?
Yeah, I think it comes back to your fundraising strategy and how you actually want to grow your business. We're not saying that this is the best option for a company, for any company. So or the right option, but because there are companies who want to take the route of the various series, right? Pre-series A, Series A, Series B, and so on. And then there's a bigger story, whether it's through acquisition or M&A or even listing, right? But for us specifically, I think one of the key reasons that we decided on this route is, I think first and foremost is it's not easy to get an investor who understand what we want to do and what we're all about. Yeah.
Yep.
And we are very fortunate that the handful of investors who believe in the company and hedge their bets and put money in the company, they resonated with our vision. Yeah. Okay. And they trusted the management to be able to take the company through to the next level. And for us, and Roshan, Karam, I think you guys run your own businesses. Fundraising is very hard. Yeah, it's tiring.
Killer,
yeah. So for us, and when we met Green Pro, they gave us this opportunity and they showed us that this is one way that you can, create value or generate value. And for us, it's not really about just exiting, but it's giving.
That's why I disagreed with Roshan when he said exit. I don't think that's your intention. Yeah.
I mean, I think different people have different agendas, right? Yeah.
So the intent is, yes, we want to make a bit of money, but the most important for us is we want to create value for our shareholders. Yeah, and I think with this listing, even with the acquisition of the 15% stake by Green Pro, they already made their money. In that sense, yeah. And if they want to sell their shares, they can, because it's liquid, right? So that's one. But for us is how can we take it further, to the next level, and whether it's me or somebody else, but of course everybody's like, okay, to whether it's NASDAQ or NYSE, but there's a clear roadmap and it's very good. But coming back to whether is the right thing to do for a business, you as a company have to look at how do you want to grow, what is your exit plan, so work towards the exit plan. And I find that a lot of startups, they don't understand, they don't know, they don't have a good advisor. That's very important. Get an advisor, who can help you with that. Because most of the startups, they have young CEOs, young teams, so they need an advisor who can actually advise them about roadmap, about how much equity you give out at the beginning. Don't give out too much, because especially if you want to go through many fundraising rounds.
True.
Yeah. And I mean, Karam, you had a couple of questions you wanted to take Elaine through, right? I know you have some invitation. Go ahead, Karam.
I think Elaine has kind of answered them in terms of why she did that. And earlier she said, hey, don't put pressure on me, but I think what I find admirable is that Elaine has put this pressure on herself and her team, because they could have done this deal with Green Pro on the quiet. Let's do it, and we don't. And there are a lot of deals done where they don't announce. And she's publicly come out, to say, look, this is our strategy forward, right? And we're aiming for a listing in the US, whichever market it is. And that's already a huge leap there. And all credit to her, because she's showing that she's incredibly brave and courageous. And after 5 years of running this stuff, almost 6 years. That's why in my article I said that they actually now have put a platform where they have to work even harder. If they think they were working hard before, they got to work even harder now. And because now people are watching them also, they're trying to aim for a NASDAQ listing, so there is pressure on them. And I think she's one of those perverse people who thrives on pressure. So now that the spotlight is on her, she and her team have to respond, and you can take out the rotan and whip your team more like, everybody's watching us, and it's fantastic.
You must sayang.
Sayang, yeah, okay, but hey, tough love is sayang also. Tough love is not sayang, it's tough love.
So
Sayang,
I guess,
sayang,
I mean, if
kena,
anyone,
tough love.
okay, if anyone has any other questions for Elain, please shoot them in the comment section, and we'll try and get to them. In the meantime, Karam, is there any other tech
Sorry.
news? Sorry?
I think it's great that Elain is here. Elain, you can comment on that. And Roshan, you will love this because iTrain has partnered with this university that, you will know maybe well, right? They've partnered with this Asia E-University, okay? And
Yes.
they plan to produce a train, 1,000 non-tech graduates in the fields of data engineering, full stack development, UX design, and deep learning /AI by 2022. And I find that an incredibly high bar they've put for themselves, and they think it's possible. But the way they're going to do it is through micro credentials, right? So micro learning. And I know, Roshan, you're a big believer in that. It's great that we've got Elain there. So how do you, and I think it's difficult to get non-tech graduates to go and study these 4 fields they're talking about, and using micro learning to get them to there, in a space of 2 years. And I love the ambition of them, right? You got to be fearless, right? And entrepreneurs who come on this show are absolutely fearless. So both your thoughts and Elain's thoughts on this, actually, that'd be great.
Yeah, so no, I think I think it's fantastic. I think if you think about tech and non-tech, I don't think there's long term is going to be a distinction. I think everyone needs to understand technology, right? I mean, and so the question is, how deep do you want to go, right? At
correct.
what level, you need to understand, whether it's blockchain, bits and pieces of everything, because ultimately you need to be dabbling in all the pieces, right? So micro learning is great because it's not deep learning, it's broad learning, and bite size, and it comes in a way that you can digest, slowly. So I think
but this is deep, Roshan, because they're picking these 4 fields, right? So you're gonna have to decide to specialize over 2 years, and it's ambitious because I think technical for you to learn one of these 4 areas is difficult, because my kids are doing coding now, learning coding, and I can see them struggling or overcome. But for young kids, it's okay, right? You adapt. But you're talking about a graduate who's like 24, 25.
There must be.
I love the fact that I hope they prove me wrong, but I just know it's going to be very challenging. But it's great that they think it can be done. You also obviously feel so. What about Elain? Do you think?
Yeah, Elain, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I echo Roshan in this, because I think technology is something that especially if you look at the generation of the future, they will the moment they are born, they're already like this, So they're very comfortable with it. So it's second nature to them. They're no longer, I mean, like one of my co-founders, Kiri, always say, we are like technology immigrants. They're born with it,
Yeah, they're born digital,
Yeah, they're born digital. So it comes, like Roshan said, second nature to them. So it's a given.
Yeah.
No more
and you're right, because I think personally, right, some of these guys, the reality is going to hit home, right? Because they're not going to be jobs in literature. I mean, there's just going to be so many non-jobs that are available for these guys, and you need to kind of pivot your own career.
Not just literature. There's so many Islamic graduates or Islamic history. There are only so many imams out there. Okay, there are positions available. So I'm warning you all now.
I'm saying that if you think about liberal arts and all these graduates and so on, there's only going to be so many jobs, right? Ultimately, technology, every company is pivoting into a technology company. So there's going to be more jobs. There's going to be more requirements. And people are going to pay more to get better talent in the space. So ultimately, if you are going to say, there's organizations that say, look, I'm going to help to pull a number of people from this space into a new space and build the pipeline of talent. I think that's great, right? Now, the big determinant is motivation. Right, so I can say I want to do this. I want to teach Karam. I want to teach you how to be a programmer. But if you, Karam, don't want to do it, that's going to be the
virtual reality.
Yeah.
The reality is, okay, and only Karam will disappear in the middle of a live show.
No. Look, virtual reality, man. That's the big play.
Okay, so I just want to add to what you and Roshan and you, Karam, just said. I mean, I don't think, like, for example, people in the liberal arts or the non-tech people, right? So what I've observed is that they're actually using tech to actually deliver work in a more exciting way.
Okay.
So you're changing the face of their industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So and ultimately you need tech, you see, regardless whether you're in any function, any industry, you need tech.
Yep.
If you don't embrace it, you will die. Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Karam, any other thoughts? I mean, any other things that are happening in the tech space?
I think in the tech space, so Exabytes, who has Equinas as their investor now, they've come up with a partner with Equinas, so corporate CSR unit, right? And they've, Elaine, that the government and all governments are trying to push their companies, small or big, to become more digital. So this is a specific program for Bumiputra SMEs to digitize their businesses.
Nice.
And there's the grants and all that. And apparently, according to Chan Ki-siak, who's the CEO of Exabytes, a fantastic guy, who's a Gujarati, 50 years old, as is Elaine and SRU, by the way, just a small subtle pitch there. But he says that only 20% of only 20% of Bumiputra SMEs are part of the digital economy. And he says that we need to increase this rate. And for me, whether you're Bumiputra or not Bumiputra, to me, you're a Malaysian company. So if within this cluster, only 20% are on board, that's alarming. Yeah? And that means that the other 80% are not competitive. So you get to get them on board as quick as possible. And this is especially focused on Bumiputra SMEs. And sometimes the feeling is that they're taking it too relaxed and they think, that things can work out, but it can't. So there's this drive to further accelerate and push them to go digital. So, I don't know whether it's, some people say, hey, why should you isolate or give special attention to Bumiputra SMEs? All of us should be on the same platform. We're all struggling. Nobody is doing any better. Just because you're not Bumiputra doesn't mean you're doing better. But this is a program because Equinas' mandate is the Bumiputra mandate. So they come up with this and hopefully it's successful. And if any Bumiputra SMEs come through, you got to scold them and tell them, no excuses, get on board, right? And I was talking to somebody yesterday from Langkawi. She sells satay, and she took over the business from the father, and she has corporatized it. She said in terms of selling satay to hotels, restaurants, right, and all that. And because she had digitized her business before COVID hit. When COVID hit and people were forced to shut down, although the government said F&B outlets can operate, right? But most F&B outlets shut down because they were only physical. Because she had a payment gateway ready and she was doing digital marketing to Facebook and Instagram, she was able to remain open and sales, she was able to actually not great sales, but she said she was able to do enough to keep her workers employed, especially her migrant workers, right? Otherwise, they would have been in a terrible position. So because she was already prepared for digital, she was able to turn that on and accelerate that. So that's a good example there.
I got one more question, I think, before we close out.
I got one more story. Hey, before we close, let's just congratulate. Before you go to the question, let's just congratulate our friend Kamarul Muhammad from Aerodyne because his model is interesting. They've just partnered with the leading drone company in Canada, and they've done a joint venture. So now Aerodyne has got a presence in Canada, and they're going to bring their AI-based platform to Canada and accelerate the market push there also. So congratulations to him.
They've got US now, they've got Canada. So these guys are really going global.
Yeah.
Aerodyne,
China, India, right?
Everywhere. India, with the police, right? And as always, it's about 15 minutes now, and we have a final question. I'm not going to take any more questions, but let me do this because I think both Karam and Elaine, it's the dialogue we were talking, right? And I think the question is it's how can you get more senior? I mean, you talked about the Bumiputra, but also the most senior folks, right? How can they become, what should they be doing to become a lot more tech savvy and to be a lot more tech involved? And especially if they run businesses. So how do you get people who are in the traditional mindset to really convert.
Actually, it's not traditional. Senior means the older generation means your Gen X, right? And your baby boomer.
Yeah,
So
so
lucky,
yeah,
I mean Gen X lah. 1965 is the first year of Gen X, man.
we can also, Karam will push himself as a younger person, but never mind, we will allow it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's good advice. I think a lot of our viewers are different age bracket, and how do they embrace for their own businesses and for themselves a more technology savvy outlook. Elain, and Karam, love to hear your thoughts. And we close out. Go ahead.
Well, honestly, I think okay. First and foremost, I think each and every one of them already has smartphones.
Yeah.
So the fact that they already have a smartphone, they're already digital. Honestly,
Yep.
they're using WhatsApp, and I can bet you, they're all using WhatsApp for business communication.
Sure.
So that's already a huge step, towards digitalization. But I guess we're talking about what can they do more, especially in operations, like to promote cost effectiveness, more operational efficiency. I think that is a big thing, So whether embedding digitalization within operations, that's number one. And number two, especially also in terms of business expansion, specifically in sales and marketing, especially in sales and marketing and business development. So those are the aspects that I think that, fail to see, or maybe not see, but maybe they don't know. They don't know how.
And Elain, I think it's also a mindset, right? I think sometimes we think that it's impossible, but when we start understanding the possibility of digital, right, it blows you, to say that. For example, even MySpace, right? I keep telling my HR team a couple of years ago, we should digitize HR. But what I really meant, I think, and today I understand it better, is that what we want is employee intelligence, right? Just like we have customer intelligence or market intelligence, what we want is employee intelligence, and that pushes us to start to figure out how do we get to that, because that's what the HR function needs, is understanding when your employees going to leave. Are they upset today? Are they going to do a good job today? And if we have that intelligence, we can make better decisions and also manage the organization. And I think that's a mindset shift, because technology is just an enabler. We need to still use it in some ways, Karam, your 2 cents, and then I want to show a quick closing video. Again, I forgot to put a break in between. We were talking so excitingly. So we'll do a closing video, and then I'll get final thought from each and every one of you. But Karam, any thoughts on this question?
No, I mean, look, if this generation is, and a lot of board members are of that, in their 50s and 60s, and because like Elain says, you see digital around you, you see your grandchildren, if they have grandkids, right? Or they see the youngest members of the family just take to digital like a duck to water, right? Or is it like water to a duck, or whatever, one of the two. And so you will know it's around you. And if you're reading anything or anywhere, everyone talking about digital, so you cannot, there's no excuse not to go digital except your own fear and the fact that maybe you're at the tail end of your career, right? You say, I'm too old to, you put this self-imposed limit, I'm too old to learn, I got 2 more years to go, I just delay it until I retire, right? Like COVID also now has made a lot of people who are on the borderline decide, now time to retire. So this digital trend may make some people either decide to retire or just run it a bit longer and delay Tai Chi, Bangara the way, and then you get retired, then let the younger people take over. But if you have at least 5 years to go in your career or your business, there's no deadline, right? Then you got to adapt very fast, because if you don't look, especially now, you're not going to be in business, come early next year, seriously. If you don't digitize some elements of your company, at the end of the day, digital means running your business better. That's what it honestly means. And who doesn't want to run their business better? End of course.
So, okay, quick ad, and then we'll be right back for closing thoughts, okay?
Oi,
bro. Apa dia?
Aku message kau 50 kali, tak balas.
Alah bro, aku tak ada time lah bro message. Aku sekarang tengah Nicole bro. Nicole lah, itu dia in sekarang. Tengah trending tengah kacau.
Kau cakap apa? Apa tu?
Nicole. Kau tak tahu Nicole? Google kau tahu? Nicole kau tak tahu? Tak, Nicole app untuk belajar bro. Semua tengah belajar guna Nicole sekarang. Ilmu semua tengah guna Nicole.
Share sikit lah.
Boleh bro, kau tengok macam ni bro.
Okay.
Kau kalau kau lembab, kau kena Nicole bro. Memang aku lembab sikit sebenarnya. Bro, kalau kau nak laju, kau nak top, kau nak jadi CEO, kau kena guna Nicole. Kau tahu kan pergi mana? Digital.dynamic.org. 200 je bro tahun.
Aku buat tu aku tak lembab dah
tak tahu bro kapasiti kau macam mana. Tapi aku rasa Nicole ni boleh tolong kau lah bro. Confirm.
Okey. Berapa?
RM200 je bro tahun.
Boleh lah duit raya pakai
Selamba bro. Ni kau tengok ni bro. Percaya bro, kau tengok ni. Ini daripada Howard bro. Power bro. Oi,
memang cantik.
Apa ni? Jangan ambil akunya.
Okey.
Aduh.
Sorry. Aku teruja sangat lah.
Ni tak apa kita tunggu sini.
Okay, final thoughts. Karam, your closing thoughts for today. And
I now know how to use lembab in a conversation. I always thought lembab means damp. Now I know what it means.
jangan lembab beri, Karam. Okay. 30 seconds.
No, a few thoughts is just what Elain is doing is incredible, is admirable, and it shows that you I think if you're focused on your end goal and you keep aiming towards it and you refuse to say no, and Tony Fernandez says this, right? Never take no for an answer, and I think Elain is showing elements of that also. Refuse to take no for an answer and still has the end goal in mind, and now she's working towards it because she's already achieved some level, and I know she and her co-founders are not happy with that yet, and they want to further build on it, and now they've given themselves another target to push for. That's why Malaysia needs entrepreneurs who are crazy, who are fearless, and who are not afraid to fail, and that's you, Elain, and that's Kiri, and that's Aimi also.
Fantastic. So the relentless. Elain, your final thoughts.
Well, okay. What I want to say is that I think perseverance. I mentioned this to Karam, right? Perseverance is very, very important, And I think I want to go back also to the intent, the niat. I remember saying this to Karam. I think the niat is very important. Well, why are you doing this? I mean, is it just money? Because for us we had a bigger agenda because we believe entrepreneurs can rule the world, and we wanted to help entrepreneurs because all three of us are entrepreneurs. So we know how difficult it is to raise funds, and it's not impossible if you believe in something. But obviously when you believe, you need to be rational as well, So have a clear plan, a clear roadmap, a clear target. And really when things don't work, relook at it, refine, pivot, or what have you, right? But at the end of the day, your end goal still stays the same, but the way towards the goal may change. Yeah. Okay. Partners come and go, partners may come in, partners leave, partners was about to come in and partners die, but you are there.
You don't lose that vision, right? And you keep relentlessly going.
And I think very important to business owners who have brought in shareholders, you have a responsibility to your shareholders. It's not your money, it's their money. And you have a responsibility to keep them posted on what's going on and what your plans are and how do you plan to move forward.
Fantastic.
If you just engage your shareholders, they're fine,
Yeah.
So I think just focus.
Thanks, Elain and Karam. Some great thoughts. Special thanks to our producer, the producer man Sashi, for being with us. So that's Tech Talk for us today. Thanks everyone for joining us. Next Friday at 7 p.m. will be Tech Talk live again with another fantastic guest, Elain Lockman, our guest today. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being with us today, and we look forward to having and we look forward to another great show next week. Elain, thank you. Karam, thank you. Karam, you can go ahead. All the best, everyone. Happy weekend. Have a great time.
Bye. Night.
Stay safe, everyone. Yeah.